writing a book is really fucking hard. And if you are one of the people who has written a book and now you're planning on publishing it, you are one of less than 1% of people who will ever do that, even though most people say they have a book idea and they're gonna write a book at some point in their life. Most of them are not going to, but you fucking did it. So why the fuck are you not marketing your book? Why aren't you learning how to do it correctly? I'm Kate, and I have helped over 3,000 authors make more money from their books using social media. So I really get it. Social media can be really difficult. Things change. There's new social media. There's new types of things that you have to be posting on. The algorithm changes all the time. I get it, but that's not an excuse to be posting shitty content about your books that's not going to sell. In fact, that's the reason that first video you posted got 800 views and then your second one got 80 views. Or you were doing really well for a while with your posts every week or two and you were getting like 200 or 300 views, but then you started getting 0 views. Or your views weren't converting to sales. Well, guess what? As much as it sounds wonderful, 200 views isn't that many views and it doesn't convert to a lot of sales. And you are making it harder on yourself when you're not learning what actually works to sell books. So when it comes to your books, there are a few things that you're probably doing wrong and I'm gonna help you fix them, don't worry. So the first thing that I see a lot of people doing is they're posting book ads like this is the 90s and your book is going to be in a magazine or your local newspaper or something. We're making these ads for our books and expecting that to sell books. Sure, ads can be really fun and pretty and it can be nice to have them, but that's not what's going to sell your book consistently. Book ads and graphics can be really great, but I guarantee that they're going to sell fewer books than content that seems organic or content that actually hooks people on your books. In fact, if you're watching this video and you're commenting on it and somebody comments, like replying to your comment on this video saying, hey, let me help with your book graphics or your book trailers, they're a scammer because you don't need book trailers to sell your book. You don't need shitty 90s graphics and text with like overlays of your book. That's not going to sell your book. You don't need a fun Canva image to sell your book. You need content that is made for readers who want to get interested. You need good hooks that are going to sell your book. So for example, in this book, there is a scene where my main character has told the guy that she loves him and he didn't say it back. And it was during a very vulnerable time that she said it and he didn't say it back. And even though this scene is about a girl falling in love with like a monster werewolf, that's not what the scene is about. The scene is about this vulnerable time when she's telling him her feelings and he doesn't say it back and now she's really insecure. And that's gonna sell a lot better than a graphic that's like, hey, here's what the book is about, here's the blurb, or here's a picture of the cover. Even though my covers are now very recently that I've redone them, that I have painted them myself, like even though the covers are on point for the genre for like monster romance, the cover isn't going to be what sells the book. It's not going to be what gets people to find the book and buy it. Because right now we're going for visibility. So we want to go for relatable things that get people emotionally attached to your book and to your characters. So that can be scenes where somebody's worried about being rejected, or where they put themselves out there, or where they're lonely, or something like that. These kinds of scenes can work really well, and they're going to sell a lot more than a graphic that you slap together in Canva, or a graphic that you worked really, really fucking hard on. If you want to learn the type of visuals that you need to go along with your hooks and with your scenes, make sure to check out the link in the description where I go into it in a lot more detail than I can fit in a YouTube video. The next problem I see is that people are posting content for authors instead of readers. So you might be posting a funny meme video about how you stared at your screen all day and didn't get any work done. Or you might have hilarious content like this Kate Hall content where sure, I show off my books, but really I'm talking about my writing process and procrastinating writing my books and how I actually market my books, even though I'm like procrastinating finishing book 3 in this series, even though it's been like 2 years and it should have been out by now. Like that's the kind of content that you're posting, or that a lot of people are posting, because they're like, yeah, my face is what sells and I need like a fan base. I need people to be obsessed with me to get my books. For one, that's not true. You don't need followers in order to sell your books, and you don't need people who are following you for your face to buy your books, and they don't need to follow you for your witty sense of humor in order to sell copies of your book. In fact, it can actually really, really harm your brand and really harm your marketing strategy if you're gaining a ton of followers on an account where you're making relatable content for authors, because then when you actually start making content about your books and trying to sell your books, then TikTok is still going to push this to authors, or they're not going to know who to show it to, and your views are going to go down. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you are posting quantity over quality, which sounds really, really messed up. Like, shouldn't you be working on making the best quality content for your books possible before you work on making sure that you're posting a lot? Well, the thing is, when you're not posting consistently, you're getting fewer eyes. If you're making content that looks decent, that doesn't get blocked by TikTok's algorithm for just being low quality content, then you are going to get new eyes on your content. You're going to get at least 200 or 300 views on your content every time you post, and the only way to get better at posting and make better content is to post all the goddamn time. So make sure that you're posting every single day, probably multiple times a day. I've found with my books that twice a day works really, really well, but it can really depend on the books, on the accounts, on the individual things. So keeping an eye on, like, if your content does better when you post it at midnight versus if you post a third post and the views are really low on the third post every time you do 3 times a day, then maybe you should bring it down to twice a day. But the basis of it is you have to be posting consistently. Posting once and then posting again a week later and saying, well, TikTok didn't really sell my books because I posted twice and I didn't get any sales. Like, that's like saying, well, I didn't really get paid from this job that I worked because I went in on Friday and worked for an hour, and then I went in 2 weeks later and worked for 20 minutes, and my paycheck wasn't $10,000. Like, that's what you sound like when you're not willing to post consistently. But you worked really fucking hard on this book, so do the work it takes to get people's eyes on the book if you want to sell it. Which means you have to be posting consistently. Show up like it's a job. If you want this to be your full-time job, you have to treat it like a goddamn job. And I know what you're thinking. Well, I don't have time. I have 16 kids and my husband works 97 hours a day and I only get 0.2 seconds to myself. Well, guess what? If that is your situation, then you wouldn't have had time to write the damn book. If you had time to write the book, you have time to market the book, because it doesn't take a billion years to market your book. You can create content in bulk. You can schedule your content. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do to make sure that you're posting consistently. Every single app that you're using, TikTok has a scheduler you can use if you're posting using the desktop. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they all allow you to schedule your posts. So if you had time to sit and write your book for an hour a night, you can use one of those hours per week to schedule your content for the week. There is seriously no reason that you shouldn't be making money off of your books when you have time to write that book and to coordinate with people to get the cover done, or when you had time to make the cover or to format the book for publishing, or the time to even just put it in Amazon to publish. You need to figure out the time to actually market it. Even if it's an hour a week where you're just scheduling your posts for social media and you've made all of these posts and then like 1 hour you get them all scheduled for the week, that's fine. So instead of treating it like this really shitty task that you should do now and then, it should be a part of your schedule. Again, you have to focus on quantity. You have to make sure that you are making content that's decent, that looks good, but you have to make sure you're actually posting it all over the place all the time. And you don't have to be active on your socials all the time to do that. And then the biggest problem that I see is when people write bad hooks. They make them too niche, or they make them too detailed, or they're not interesting enough. But I use one specific hook, that's that first 3 seconds, because that's the most important thing. That is what stops the scroll on your content. So I always do when, and then your character archetype and conflict. When the billionaire sees you on a date with his rival, or when the rock star shows up to your house and you kick him out. You have to have a juicy hook that is interesting, that gets people to keep reading, that gets them then into that relatable scene, that gets them into that emotional thing, that gets them hooked on your characters. If you want to learn in super big detail how I do this, make sure to check out the link in the description.